Today on the Definitely Miami Caravan podcast, we have an amazing guest all the way from not New York, not Los Angeles. He is coming all the way from Norway, Adrian from the Akka App. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us why you're sitting here with us.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me on the podcast. So I'm Adrian. I lead the European initiative for Akka. We're an investment platform across Europe with 3,000 members. My background is in entrepreneurship. I built three businesses with two successful exits. And now I'm on the other side of the table as a venture capitalist. And I guess the reason why we're sitting here is because you came across some of the edgy content I'm doing on Instagram.
I found that to be like some of the best content ever. Just a little background on myself and why I was attracted to your content and then connected with you immediately. My background is in the banking world here in America. I only got into the media world about 7 or 8 years ago. And the strange thing about the banking world here is that they want you to bring in business, they want you out there, they want everybody to know who you are and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you cannot do any kind of advertising. You can't say I work for this bank. You can't say anything like this. So when I saw you doing some of these skits and almost like sketch comedy almost, I said, this guy gets it. He understands it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was right before I was joining Akka, the founder of Akka said, "Hey, I want to have a superstar leading the Northern Europe division." And I told him that you need to be careful what you wish for because I'm going to do it, but I might be a PR nightmare. And 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 what I wanted to do was to say the things that people really want to hear. I
Hmm.
want to write the stuff that people really want to read, and I just want to show people what people really like to see. And there's so much mystery between what happens between an investor and a founder if you're not in the game. So I wanted to bring those stories that I've experienced myself and that I've heard from others and exaggerate them a little
Hmm.
and to satirize them. And then on the other hand, I felt okay, maybe I should tell some uncomfortable truths as well, and that's what I've been doing. And looks like people like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're definitely getting a lot of interaction. I could tell that they're really well thought out and that you have a strategic plan to it because sometimes I watch it and I say, wait, is this real or is this staged? And then
Yeah.
and I just keep saying, in the in corporate America and in corporate global corporate America, you can't. It's got to be staged because some of the things that you're saying and doing on these, on these skits has to be staged because there's no way that PR, like that the corporate America or corporate HR would ever allow this to happen. Who comes up with these ideas? And are the people that you're interviewing are the actual clients or are they just other coworkers that you work with?
Ah, yeah, no. So I'm the only one doing this. I'm the idea creator. I write the skits. I have the ideas. I produce them myself. The people that are on is a mix between friends and actors, actresses.
Hmm.
And the direction I tell them is that, hey, we are going to play out a very very real scenario that is not being talked about because it's not mainstream okay to talk about.
Hmm.
So but people understand that this could have happened, and I wanted to do something very different where you do the acting right in the middle of where it feels real instead of doing on the extreme side where you really know this is just comedy. I just wanted to make things uncomfortable in a way, I guess.
Now, are the scenarios that you're doing in some of these skits on social media, are they based in something that happened in real life and then you just extrapolate the main idea but then make it engaging and somewhat comical, or how do you actually get the ideas for what you're doing?
I mean, I try, and I feel like I don't know if that's the right phrase. Like I'm awake, but I've been in so many corporate situations. I've been in so many different weird meetings. I've met so many different people, um, and and I've hired a lot of people, so I know the intricacies of these conversations that happens.
Sure.
Yeah, so these are in my experience, these are real experiences, these are real stories, but obviously some of them are exaggerated
Mhm.
for comedic effect or for shock effect or whatever, but most of them are real.
How how is you know, it's great engaging content, but who is your typical customer or client, and how are these how is your social media working to try to pull people as a magnet in to the Akka app?
Yeah, sure. So my role has two parts in it, right? So the first role I have is being a venture capitalist.
Mhm.
I'm screening 50 to 100 companies each month, and part of my job is to filter out and find one promising startup that we want to present to our members. Then the other part of my job is to bring new members into our investment platform,
Got it.
and and that is where most of the I would say that is the purpose of the content and the
Mhm.
attention thing I'm doing. So by doing these skits and doing this you would say this type of content, I want to bring in people who then starts to be interested in the private markets, because startups is long before
Of
IPO, long
course, yeah.
before. So that's what I that's the whole point. Get people excited about the private markets, and specifically around startups.
What is or what is your typical client? Is your typical client a startup that has zero revenue, or is your client kind of like myself, where they've got a business going, but you know they've got a grand plan of how they're trying to expand? What's your typical client, and what's the cycle like from when your company, when the Akka App starts with the client until they actually a financial transaction takes place?
Okay, so I would say that we wouldn't call investing in a startup a client, but so we would say that the members that are on the Akka app is our clients, the people that do want to invest in these startups, and then the startups that we invest in are just our investment objectives, so you could say. Um, so the typical company that we invest in are either an early stage company, usually valued between $10 million all the way up to $250 million. That's what we call the moonshots, early stage scaling phase of startups.
Hmm.
And then 50% of the portfolio is pre-IPOs, where we do secondary transactions, where we buy shares from other investors in companies like Revolut, Anthropic, Epic Games. We did the Perplexity, etc. So, so we have two different, very different type of uh, companies that we invest in.
Can I ask you a question? Why is Norway such a hub for technology? Because, you know, when you think of Norway, I don't think the first thing that people think of globally is technology, but yet there seems to be a lot of technology based out of Norway. Why is that?
Well, I would say that Norway lately has transitioned into becoming more and more of a tech hub, but we still have a some forces that are still holding us back. For instance, we have very high wealth tax, and the
Mm.
tax system is really damaging the startup ecosystem. But if you look at the Nordics, if you look just to our neighbor country like Sweden,
Hmm.
you see so many great companies coming from there. Like the lately now, which are sailing up, is like Ilegora and the Lovable for vibe coding and
Oh,
stuff.
I use Lovable all day long. Lovable is such a good app, and that's one thing that I've seen that's really happening right now is that i- if people had a really good idea, it took them so long, it took so much capital to actually get the idea from a technology standpoint. But now, even myself, you know, we expanded my media business so much using AI and developing things that in the past would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, that now cost us a fraction because we're able to kind of develop the concept and then go to our development team or hire developers and say, this is what we want. make it perfect. Instead of having to spend, 80% of our capital developing the concept and then 20% of it, making it perfect, we were able to do it for, a fraction and then just
Yeah.
invest, ten to $20,000 in making things, individual projects perfect, which is
Yeah.
where I think that's where I think a lot of people right now are not using technology or not using AI the right way, because the way that they seem to be using technology and AI is almost like an expanded or more profound Google, instead of actually helping them, do tasks or build programs or integrate programs into each other to really make things pop.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you're right on the spot, or right on the money, or how we say it, probably on the money in Miami. But um,
You know what we say
uh,
in Miami, though? In Miami, we say no money, no honey.
right. I got you.
You got to use that one in one. Got to use that line in one of your. Especially, I've seen
Uh,
a couple of your reels where it's almost been like you're the chauvinist, and the female is like, people told me this about you. Now you got to say, hey, honey, no money, no honey.
yeah, I'll make a note of that. But what I was gonna say was that you probably see this now a little, where the mainstream, um, you could say the average people that have entered into the AI hype is feeling somewhat of a fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
because it was in hype for, or it's still a hype, but it was so exciting a year ago to start prompting with ChatGPT, and like, wow, they can do X and Y and Z, and I can just keep getting all these questions answered. They can help me write, and but then it gets to a point where you feel like you're plateauing, because even though the tool is superior, you as a human being have not trained yourself to be a great prompter. You're losing the your ability for critical thinking and asking great questions,
That's
and
exactly it.
that is like
That's the key.
people.
I've told so many people
Yeah,
that same exact advice, that if you're using AI the same way, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, if you're using it the same way that you use Google, you're wasting your time. And that what
yeah,
you need to really learn is how to make it think like you, and how to develop very good prompts to ask it to do things, or say, hey, I had this Excel spreadsheet. I want to put it into this system and I want to be able to extrapolate this kind of data. How can you help me build this? And it's more in developing the prompts, and that's what people need to focus on, is making their prompts better so that they can get the most out of using AI. I've told people, before you even ask ChatGPT anything, you should ask it, I want to do this. This is my objective. How should I write the prompt? To ask you to do it, or use ChatGPT to develop the prompt, and then go into the other databases or the other systems to actually copy and paste the prompt into the other systems.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And what I see now is there's so many companies thinking that they are AI companies
Mm-hmm.
just because they have been writing a few prompts, for instance. But
Yes.
you can really tell when a system is, uh, I would say, more sophisticated than others,
Mm-hmm.
and when people really know what they're doing compared to, I would say, the average. So I'm my hot take is that you will see not only the best engineers to be the best at using AI, but you will see people coming from philosophy studies
Mm-hmm.
that have been really, really great at thinking, critical thinking, first principles thinking, asking questions, asking dumb questions, and to just start reflecting. They will be really, really good at using AI in the future.
Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
agree,
really,
and that's one thing that I've always said, that's led me to be successful in business here in the United States, because I speak multiple languages. Most Americans, as you being a European, know most Americans, they barely even speak English correct. Me being able to speak Spanish, a little bit of Italian, and German, I think of things very differently because the structure of those languages are so different, and it helps me
Mm.
solve problems in such a different way. On top of that, I'm a pretty deep character, so I always think about things and the impact and why am I doing something? Why am I thinking about a solution to this? Why do I want to do this? And when you figure out the why, usually it makes it a lot easier to figure out the foundation of how to solve the problem.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and as a, I would probably like an ending point to what you're talking about there
Mhm.
is I like to see it through the lens of how Elon Musk did
It's
with
good to know you're on
SpaceX.
a first name basis with Elon, you know?
Sorry, I'm not. I just want to clarify that I'm not on the Elon Musk. Yeah, uh, but the way he used first principles thinking when he was founding SpaceX, and
Right.
he kept asking questions like, why is it so expensive to launch a rocket? Why can't we make a reusable rocket? And he kept asking all these questions, and then all of a sudden he just found out that he can just build it by himself, and that's what you can see when you're prompting as well. If you just take the first answer for and if you just believe in the first answer when you're prompting and you're talking to Claude or ChatGPT,
Hmm.
instead of just keep asking more questions, how did you get to there, and help me find better solutions,
Yes.
you will see that it will completely transform how you do your work.
I think not enough credit's given to people that reverse engineer problems or reverse engineer something. Most people say, okay, I want to start doing something, and then they start on the ground floor. But really, it's like think about the finished product and then reverse engineer it, work backwards, and then you'll figure out what your first step is going to be, your second step, third step, and so on and so forth. And that's something that I think that's one of the keys that's led Elon Musk to be so successful. So we were talking about reverse engineering and how important it is to reverse engineer things and almost think of things in a different way. Um, what is something that you look for when somebody goes onto your app? And I want to talk about your app in a second. But when somebody goes onto your app, what is something that you look at about their business that you say right away, oh, this is a successful business, or this is a business that's going to be a success, versus when you look at it and you say, this got a lot of flaws, it got a lot of issues. I don't think this is going to be a good one. What is it that you think of?
Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant question because
Well, I'm a
if you could
brilliant guy.
yeah, but if you could give a very good answer to that, like you always knew, you would be a yeah, trillionaire by now. But I would say every single VC on the planet, when they're investing into early stage startups specifically, because that's very different from later stage companies. Like if you're a $1 billion company plus pre-IPO, if you're an early stage company,
Right.
the single biggest thing that we look for is the founders themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we look for founders, or specifically Akka, we look for founders that are repeating founders that have been in the trenches before, done a startup, maybe have had an exit, maybe it didn't go so well, but
Mm-hmm.
you have done the job before. Because the most difficult thing about doing a startup is that you don't know what you don't know. And I we obviously we understand that there are some problems you cannot have solved before because there's new problems.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you have done a startup before, that's extremely important, and that has a big correlation whether or not you will be successful. I'm not saying that it's a one-to-one, but it's a big correlation. The the um the second thing is, when it comes to the founder, is okay, are you the, let's say we like you and you have the right education and blah blah blah, are you the right person to tackle this specific problem? You might have a great idea, but that idea might not be the best for you to embark on. And that's also some of the things that we see when they pitch us, is that okay, they come to us with great ideas, but from our due diligence and our analysis, we don't feel that the specific founder or the founding team is the right person or persons to tackle those problems. So you need to also have the right background and then and the right baseline to handle those I would say
Sure.
problems ahead of your solutions.
You know what I
So
find being a founder myself, the challenging thing is giving up control, giving up delegation, and 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 understanding that I have to give up a little bit of control in order to grow this thing. And part of giving up control is bringing on partners and saying, okay, I'm going to have to share money that I'm making. Right now, I'm making this much money, and it's all basically going in my pocket. But I brought on partners, and then the stuff that I've learned, because I just brought on a small equity partner about 8 months ago. But what I've learned from him,
mm,
he came in with a very small amount of money, but I've learned so much from him because he's
right.
invested in other billion-dollar companies, and he invested in me because he said, "You're the greatest salesperson I've ever known. You are such a genius in everything you're doing, and I see that people just attract to you. And this is such a unique business." Which I want to talk a little bit more about my business as we end the interview. But
Yeah.
and that's what to your point, that's what I've seen that a lot of people that invest in businesses, what I've learned from my first investor was that they're not investing in the dollars and cents of the business per se. Yes, they want to make sure it's going to be profitable and it's going to grow. And if they invest, $5 million, they want to know it's going to be worth. If it has a chance of being worth 50 million or 500 million. But they're investing more in the leader of the company, the founder. And if you have the passion and you have the intelligence and the work ethic, that's what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And yeah, I mean, it's also very important. This is one of the I'm not sure this is a language barrier thing. I'm not sure if this is a fallacy or whatever the right phrase is, but it's not like VC, like venture capital funds, is
Mm-hmm.
the right fund for everyone seeking money. So, I see a lot of businesses trying to pitch us as well that just simply doesn't fit in the category of attracting VC money,
Right.
because VC money is very, very specific type of funding where we in a typical fund, you would invest in 20 to 40 different companies, and you expect 60% of them to not go as or to not make any meaningful return. And then there's another 10-15% that doesn't go end well at all. But then you have the one percenter or 2% of the fund that really can do like 20x, 50x, 100x.
Right. And that's
So,
huge because
and that,
it's
yeah,
my understanding that whenever investors go in and invest in companies, they're not just investing in one company. They're putting 20 million into maybe 10 different companies,
yeah,
knowing that probably 8 out of the 10 companies it's not going to work out. But the two that do work out, that they're putting 2 million to 5 million into each one, that company, they're going to make $100 million on that investment.
yes, sir, yes,
Yeah.
sir. And the reason why it has to be like that is because the it does cost a lot of money to be or to running a VC fund.
Mm-hmm.
You have this the traditional fee structure is a 2 and 20 model. So if you invest $1 million into a VC fund, the VC fund will take minimum 2% as a management fee per year during the life cycle of the
Okay.
fund.
So do they
So
take 2% of the total investments, or do they take 2% of the business worth, or do they get 2 points in the companies that they're managing and attracting people to, or how does that work?
no, so let's say you wanted to place $1 million in a VC fund. You wanted to invest into a VC fund that
Mm-hmm.
will invest in other startups, right?
Got it.
Then the VC fund will say, okay, minimum ticket is $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know that with the $1 million that you are investing into that VC fund, they will take minimum 15% of that
Okay, so
as
150,000 on a million.
yeah as a management fee,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will take a minimum 20% on the carry, so 20% on the profit when the fund
Got
closes.
it. Okay. Oh, so they are taking points theoretically then in the joint venture.
Yeah, so that's why a typical VC fund cannot invest in businesses that are not your typical moonshots when it's early stage, because the failure rate is so high.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
So I want to take the last couple of minutes of the podcast to kind of share with you my business, my passion, my vision, and then get some honest feedback from you. And don't be afraid to kind of tear into me here. Like I'm a big boy. So basically, Boost Media, it started out with me leaving corporate America, a very cushy job at a high level at Citibank. I'm sure, huge bank, you've heard of it. And I made the leap into doing a TV show. And then from a TV show, I developed a small network. And now we've developed it into an entire media company. In the past year, though, we've converted it from being just like a small media company to being the YouTube for streaming TV. And what do I mean by that? Is that social media, and I group YouTube in part of social media. Social media is a dying medium because you can have 1 million followers but make zero money off of it. And you can, you put your content onto TikTok, or you put your content out onto, TikTok, you put your content out onto, Instagram and YouTube or whatever, and they own your content, right? With streaming TV, we own the content, you own the content, and you own the data of who's watching. You own your customer, which then allows you to remarket, and then that customer is really what becomes so valuable. And the reason I'm saying this is that, take, for example, Vizio TV and Walmart. Have you heard of Walmart? Do they have Walmarts in Europe?
They don't have Walmart in Europe, but I obviously heard of it.
So Walmart a couple of years ago bought Vizio TV for $2.5 billion US, okay? They didn't buy Vizio because they wanted to get into the TV production game. They bought Vizio because they know that when somebody has a smart TV, the same way that Apple knows everything that's going on your phone or Samsung or whatever, same thing on the smart TVs. So now if you go and you buy a Vizio TV, in order to turn the TV on and use the TV, you have to put in your Walmart ID. So you got to put in whatever your email address is or your cell phone number is that you registered to shop at Walmart, and your password, you have to put that in. And Walmart's using all that data then to cross-market to them. So they're using a halo business. They're using TV, which everybody has in their houses. They're using TV in order to gain market share and gain a lot of intelligence on their customers so they can remarket to them and then sell them, a marker or a pen that they buy for 20 cents that they're selling for $4 and making a 400% profit on, rather than selling the TV. They're giving away the TV as a Trojan horse into their customers' world. And that's basically what we've done here, but we've also leveraged a lot of AI into it. Where now, let me go to the watch section. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go here. Let's go to Watch TV. Just give it a second. Here we go. Of course, it's loading. So here, this is our platform, and this is where it's a very interesting platform, right? By the way, Miami's only streaming TV platform, which I'm very, very proud of. But
awesome.
We have a live stream. We have about 150 episodes on here. But what we've allowed people to do, or where it actually is working. Let me just go to the back end site here.
Quick question, Ronnie.
Say that again.
So let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
So on your
Mm-hmm.
streaming platform, are you producing the shows and content, or is it
no? So one or two shows I do produce. Okay. But for the most part, what it is to produce a TV show. If you saw, most of Hollywood is going broke right now, right? And our philosophy is there are so many people that are producing such great content and putting it out onto social media. They're putting it out onto YouTube or Vimeo or Kick or whatever, but they're not really monetizing it. And if it is getting monetized, Alphabet or Vimeo, whomever, are taking the lion's share of the profit. And what this allows us to do is this allows them to, so here's the site. What this allows them to do is basically meter however much, or they could put their ads out for bid or put in their own Google AdSense code so that they can control how much they want to make when they're broadcasting a video. So what we've done is we've created, just like on YouTube, we've created this very simple to use platform where they can put in their show name, put in all the data on their shows, upload the video file, upload their thumbnails, their assets, click the box, and then click upload content, and boom, within minutes, it's streaming on Apple TV, Google TV, Amazon Fire, Amazon Prime, Roku. It's streaming on everything right there in minutes. So it's easier than uploading to, once the account's set up, it's easier than uploading your video onto YouTube, but yet it's going out onto all the streaming platforms, and then we can monetize it directly right there. That's the beauty of our system. And that's why I say we're the YouTube of streaming TV.
Sure, but so you must have some partnership agreement with all the streaming platforms then.
Well, it's no, because what it is the streaming platforms allow you to put your channels on them, to put your platform on them. You don't have to pay for that, right? Because what they want, they just want to have the eyeballs on their platform, because they know if they have their eyeballs on their platform, they could insert commercials, sporadically. And once they're on the platform, they might jump off of Boost TV and they might go back onto Netflix, or they might go onto Amazon Prime. So they just want everything to be on there so that they can get, customers onto their platforms.
Right. Okay. So so whoever indie TV show developer could just through Boost.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
So right now, so think about it. Now, this is the other beautiful thing about the business model, okay? Right now, we're at a couple of $100,000 a year in revenue. The more content that we put on, naturally, the more revenue that we go up. Every customer or anybody that uploads their content, we go onto a revenue split. So whatever they earn, they bring the viewers, they bring the eyeballs to the platform. Whatever they earn, we're basically splitting. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't cost us anything. This is the beauty of the business model. If we have 10,000 shows on there, or we have 1,000 shows on there, it costs virtually the same to run the network. So most businesses, as you scale a business, as you sell more product, as you take up more space, as you open up more storefronts, whatever, usually your costs go up exponentially, right? Or they go up in unison to what your revenue is. With this, the costs stay relatively low because it only costs, a fraction of a penny to store the actual, content on our servers for each thing. And whether 1,000 people are watching or 10,000 people are watching it, it's virtually keeps the cost at the same, which is beautiful. And we could also white label this and then allow this via white label to go out and sell it to, like, right now we're in talks with several major brands, worldwide brands that people know, to white label this and give them their own YouTube. Because, for example, I'm going to use a car company as an example. Let's say, what's your favorite car?
Audi.
Okay, let's say Audi. It's so funny. So funny that you say Audi. Let's say that Audi has one of their videos on YouTube. When somebody gets done watching their video that's on their own channel, the Audi official channel on YouTube, somebody gets done watching their 2-minute or 5-minute video or 20-minute special, right, interview, whatever, what comes on right after the Audi video? Probably a Porsche video, or probably a Volvo video, right? And so they have no control over it, and they have no control over the data of who's watching it, how long they watched it for, how can they remarket to them, and that's where we've kind of really developed a couple of strong relationships and are very close to signing deals with some of these companies, because they look at it and they say, let's take like a major real estate brand. They look at it and say, everybody's watching real estate content on social media, but we don't know who's watching, how long they're watching, unless they like it or they put a comment onto it. We really don't know. And with this, we can go in and see the analytics and actually see what's going on.
Right.
And even like right now, I'm going to show you this. Right now, we're using StreamYard as our platform. Look at this. We've developed our own live streaming platform right here, where we can live stream right on the platform, multicam live stream, which works. Is this working? Or are they updating? Oh, here it is. Multicam, where we can go in and say, all right, test live stream. And then we can go in and there's you click add camera, you go in there, you use your smartphone, and then you could have up to 8 people streaming simultaneously. Like, this is, we thought of everything that we've gone through in the past couple of years of developing it, and all these other platforms that we pay to be on, and we said we just need to develop this all as our own platform. This makes zero sense to continue doing what we're doing and paying all this money to all these other platforms when we could just do it on our own right here. And that was the genesis of it, and that's how I ended up bringing on a small partner that came in for just 10% of the company, and he said, use this money to go out and develop everything so you could develop the technology of everything that you want to do, and pay yourself a salary so that you're not out running around trying to do, film this event and do this and develop this TV show or this comedy show or whatever. And he said, just develop it, because if you can develop it where we could bring in clients without having to increase costs, there's people are going to line up and we're going to raise millions of dollars to expand the business.
Gotcha. So, what I would say at this point, Ronnie, is that the first use case makes sense to me. So, you have a platform where you help other creators producing shows to have one place to distribute to other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
If I got that correctly. The two others, so with the live streaming platform, I don't get because
Think about it
the
like this. I get what you're saying, because again, I have the passion for it and I've done this. Think about we're marketing to a lot of high-end schools, the Ivy League schools, where
okay,
they're paying services to come in and broadcast their sports games, right? And they're
okay,
paying a service to broadcast their sports games, and they're broadcasting them onto YouTube or onto Vimeo.
hmm,
Whereas now they're saying, well, if we can have this system where we can have multiple cameras set up and and broadcast it ourselves, and it's seamless. It's all housed in one thing. That's perfect. There's also like a lot of youth sport leagues here that they pay thousands of dollars every weekend to a company to come and broadcast their games. And the idea was, okay, if we have a multicam streaming app that people can use their smartphones to broadcast the games via the smartphones, and it uses AI to switch back and forth with the cameras based on where the action is, which camera angle has the most action. That's where we're winning with it, And then all these companies, they'll pay us between $5,000 and $10,000 a month US as a retainer to have the rights to the system, and we'll develop it and monitor it and administer the system.
yeah, okay. I can see that use case
Yeah.
because I was going to compare it to like Twitch and Kick and other platforms, but
Yeah.
I see the use case there.
Hmm.
And then you have I would say the native branded YouTube for, like, let's say Audi.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so to me, it sounds like you have three different businesses in one business.
Yeah. You're right.
And from a VC perspective, that could be an issue
Hmm.
because they seem to be very different, and the customers you have and users you have on every single module or business is very different.
Agreed. Agreed. And that's why, like, my passion and my excitement takes over, because I know if I just
Yeah,
would have stayed on the streaming TV thing, you would have been like, "Wow, this is really cool." But it's the thing of, okay, you go to buy a car, right? And you want the car and you want the leather seats and you want the nice cool rims and the great tires, and then they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, hold on. We could put heat in these seats, or it comes with six speaker stereo, but you look like a young guy. Like, wow, like you want to have the 12 speaker stereo, don't you? And so it's almost like we have all these bells and whistles that are great, but probably only a fraction of people that we're going to do business with will actually use the bells and whistles. You don't need 12 speakers in your car, but yet they're trying to sell you the 12 speakers, right? Yeah,
yeah, sure.
you know what I mean? You're not wearing shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of April in Norway. You're wearing, pants and a flannel jacket. You don't need the heated seats. The heated seats are an extra. But that to your point, I absolutely agree. I get carried away sometimes with my passion for the project. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, 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 but what I'm saying, Ron, is that your business. So my feedback in this setting
Hmm.
is that I'm looking at your business from a VC perspective, and I talked a little bit about this half an hour ago, where not every single business is the right business for VC money,
Right.
because you might have a fantastic business and make have great profit margins, and it can be like a generational wealth,
Right.
etc., etc. But it doesn't mean that a VC would feel like it's a right investment, even though the business could be prosperous.
Completely
So what I'm
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so from a VC perspective,
Hmm.
there you have a couple of issues. The most glaring one is that, to me, it seems like you have three different companies in your company,
Hmm.
because the streaming platform could be one thing, the B2B side could be another,
Right.
and then the third one. So, but it could still be a great business. I like it, but it doesn't seem to me like it's a
You like it,
uh,
so let's come on. Let's raise a couple of $1 million. Let's raise 10 million, and let's take this over, baby. Come on.
yeah. No, but I mean, another or a different category of investor would probably love this,
Hmm.
and but from a VC generalist, I would say there's some, like, for this introduction,
Right.
there's some obvious hurdles. Also, I would also say, as a general tip, when pitching VCs, is that it's extremely important to understand with what context does the VC have for whatever you're pitching.
Hmm.
Uh, I've seen it so many times when people pitch me. They pitch me like 100 different things, but my expertise and niche is probably in around like 6, 7 areas. So when you start pitching me stuff that I do not know much about,
Hmm.
um, it's important that
So
the
I've
VC
heard this
do.
before. I've heard this a couple of times, and what people
Yeah,
have told me is, because I mean, I live on Lincoln Road, world famous Lincoln Road, in the middle of South Beach and Miami Beach, surrounded by billions and billions of dollars. So I talk to people all the time, and they say you got to tone down the passion and just focus on make believe whoever you're talking to has no clue what YouTube is, has no clue what streaming TV is, and just make it very, very basic. YouTube, you're the YouTube for streaming TV. You allow people that make great content and put it onto YouTube or other social media platforms, but aren't monetizing it. You allow them to upload it and be streaming on every single streaming TV app and get paid in minutes. And they're like, just leave it at that. If you leave it at that and then let the conversation go from there, you're gonna have way more people interested because I start talking. I'm like, yeah, and we do this and we do this, and I get animated, and they're like,
yeah.
oh,
Major
slow down.
mistake. Major mistake when you're talking to an investor,
Hmm.
or especially in VC, when you in all other instances, if you had an intro, you would max out 30 minutes to pitch.
Right.
What the VC is looking for is, do I understand your business? And if I do not understand your business, please let me ask questions so I can understand it. And if you don't allow me to ask questions, I will never get your business, and I don't want to spend more time just trying to learn your business if it doesn't come to me very
Right.
simply,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So if so that's why you always see in the media where everybody is saying that, hey, keep your pitch very short, the elevator pitch.
Hmm.
Just talk about what is the problem that you're solving, why are you the right guy, and then what does the solution look like, and just end it there. And if the VC or investor is interested, we'll just keep asking questions, and you can be the hero, but keep it like KISS, keep it simple,
Yeah.
stupid.
What a great acronym. How can people? Let's wrap this up. How can people get in touch with you? How can people do business with Akka? And how can I help you? Even more importantly.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Ronnie. I mean, you can just look me up on Instagram, Adrian Søbyskogen. I'm sure if you write
So try to
Adrian,
say that one like 3 times fast.
yeah. Um, but I'm sure if you just type in Adrian Akka, you will find me on Instagram, and I'm sure your audience is not easily offended, so they'll probably find it funny.
Yes.
Uh, But Akka, I mean, if you're interested in investing into the private markets and startups, Akka is a very fascinating app where you get access to investments you would never get access to otherwise.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would love to stay in touch, Ronnie.
Definitely. Yeah. You know what? Let's do this. Let's commit to doing a couple of more podcasts so I can keep you abreast of what's going on in my world, in my business, and then you could also keep me abreast of what's going on in your world and all of your great skits that you're doing, and then we'll go from there. All right. Hey, it's been great talking with my new friend Adrian. Not even gonna try to pronounce his last name, from the Akka app. Who says that you can't meet people on social media and actually connect and have things in common? He's in Norway. I'm here in beautiful, lovely, palm tree and sun-drenched Miami Beach. Make sure you check out his business. Make sure you tune in to every single episode of the Definitely Miami podcast, brought to you by Boost TV and Media.